Getting back to the Kyle Shanahan thing. I mean, I was listening to Steiny and Goo talk about this a little bit earlier, kind of where's the pressure point in this football game between Brock and Kyle. And I thought they both had some fair points, but here's kind of how I see it. Like, Steiny was saying the pressure is much more on Purdy. Guru was saying it's much more on Kyle. I look at Shanahan and I go, because Steiny's point was, he's like, look, Shanahan, if he wants to be the coach for another 7 to 10 years, he will be. Right. That, to me, doesn't necessarily answer the question, though, of where's the pressure, or in other words, if you walk out of here, if the next 3 weeks don't go well, Niner fan, you walk out of here mad at who? And I firmly believe that number one answer on the board is going to be Shanahan. Purdy is still a young quarterback who, in theory, can and still and should get better and grow, and is making $800,000 and has never, by the way, he has a sum total of 0 disappointments. He's never gone into the playoffs and gagged. He went in and got hurt, but he never went in and gagged. Now, Shanahan's got a completely different resume, and we've had a very different experience watching him. I know that this is asking a lot of fans, and so I won't ask it. You can watch the game and have your opinion and think any way you want, but it's important to me when I hear people like Tashawn Gibson, a veteran in this league, say the things that he said. He said, we've got a room full of people who think he's a straight shooter.
Yeah.
His honesty means something to us, and we want to run through a wall for that man.
Well, the two things he said were takeaways for me. One, straight shooter, and the other one is he takes care of his players, which tells me that he doesn't force you or pressure you to play when you're hurt. When you're hurt, you get to stay hurt, and if you're a little banged up, you get a day at practice, you get a veteran day. He cares about the players, and he wants to take care of them. The fact that he said he's a straight shooter, that's hard when you got that many grown men, that many alphas in a room. And if you have to tell a guy, hey, you're not starting, and I need you on special teams, and that's it. That's going to be it from you for this game. Those are hard conversations, but he has them, and guys respect that.
Well, I think back to the comments made earlier this year by Jimmy Ward, who ended up with the Houston Texans. And Jimmy and Kyle had an uncomfortable finish to his time with the Niners, even though Kyle and John Lynch, man, they repeatedly had Jimmy Ward's back when no one wanted them to. Niner fans, you remember when you wanted Earl Thomas. You wanted them to sign Earl Thomas in free agency. And Kyle and John were right. They're like, we're not doing Earl Thomas. We're doing Jimmy Ward. And people were like, Jimmy Ward? He's always hurt. How the hell are you going to sign Jimmy Ward back? And they did. And he was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And it's interesting that we're having this conversation from Gibson, because Gibson's the one who came in and took Jimmy Ward's job. And Ward had to transition in a free agent year to a different position in the defensive backfield. And Ward went into his office, as Tashawn said, open door policy, straight shooter. Now, that goes both ways. Ward walks into his office and goes, I don't want to play there. That's not my position. Kyle looks at him and goes, so you don't want to start? That's a straight shooter.
Yeah.
It's not the answer he wanted, but he's like, dude, this is what we got. I put you on special teams, but that's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And you're Jimmy Ward, and you're talented enough to do this. And so Ward, I'm sure, has his feelings about it to this day. But as you pointed out, he's got like 60 guys to keep happy, which is never going to happen.
No.
But so all you can do is throw honesty at it, be straightforward, let people know where they stand. In other words, the opposite of what the Giants have done with their players for the last 2 years.
Well, and Gabe Kapler's no longer here.
There you go.
I think it goes higher than Kapler, and we'll see organizationally what changes with Bob Melvin here, an old school baseball guy. But I think about Kyle Shanahan in the quarterback position and how he had to deal with the Jimmy Garoppolo situation. And, I'm sure he was honest with Jimmy at every turn, as honest as he could be, starting with, hey, Jimmy, we're trading up to draft your replacement, a guy named Trey Lance. So just want to let you know that and stuff, because I'm a straight shooter, and that's what they did. And then Jimmy, we don't need you. Jimmy, we need you. That whole situation, I don't think was born out of dishonesty. It was a little sloppy the way it ultimately went, but I think about the Trey Lance ouster, the exodus too of Trey Lance, where he goes to Trey, and Trey even spoke to this, where, they had a conversation and Trey said, I want to be somewhere else. And Kyle said, okay, we're going to make that happen for you. And he did. So that sort of thing, I think, reputationally becomes a reality league-wide, and it helps you when it comes to free agency.
So here's a question, I guess, because this is where I am. I know he's already got an extension, but prior to this playoff run starting, if I said to you, would you sign up for another decade of Kyle? Right now, you do not get to know the results of this year. Would you do it?
Of course.
Yeah, so would I.
Of course. And I'm looking at...
Without even blinking.
I'm looking at the list of coaches in the NFL, and there are 3 coaches with a longer tenure than Kyle Shanahan.
Ooh, could I guess?
Yeah. You
3 coaches with a longer tenure than Kyle Shanahan.
Yes.
Mike Tomlin.
Correct, since 2007.
Is one of them. John Harbaugh.
Since 2008.
Is one of them. And the last one should be, let's see. Carroll's gone and Belichick is gone.
Gone.
Is it, I would imagine that it's Andy Reid.
Correct.
Okay.
You ran the table.
All right.
What do those 3 coaches have in common in terms of this year?
What do those 3 coaches have in common?
Thanks, Grandy. Keep it rolling.
They've all won a Super Bowl?
That's correct.
Okay.
In terms of this year.
It's
a little too esoteric of a question.
They all went to the playoffs?
Correct.
Okay.
And Kyle is tied with McDermott. Playoffs.
No, I'm not, Brian Nagel on YouTube. He goes, Mark is looking. No, I'm not. Yes, I am looking.
You're not a cheater.
I am looking at the
team.
At the NFL standings. Yes. I am not looking. Anyway, go ahead.
Kyle is tied with Sean McDermott and Sean McVay in terms of tenure, and those 2 teams also made the playoffs.
Also in the playoffs.
And I think you're seeing where my point is, and thank you, Grandy, for the game show music. You want to keep your coach because when you find a coach who's good, he's not perfect, as Tashawn Gibson said in the Richard Sherman podcast.
No one is.
Nobody is. But you look at this list of coaches, they are all in the playoffs, and I don't think it's by accident. And you look further down the list, you get to Zach Taylor, who has been to the playoffs a number of times. They've been to a championship game. They lost their quarterback, Matt LaFleur, who has a great winning percentage, and they're back in the playoffs. And Kevin Stefanski, who got his team to the playoffs. He's next on the list. So you see the pattern here. You find a coach who's good. You keep the coach. You let him build it. So, yes, Mark, no matter what happens on Saturday or next Sunday or, God forbid, 3 weeks from Sunday.
Or next year.
Or
next year.
No, he gets.
Or next year.
Kyle, what's his contract now? He's got 5 more years, I think.
He went through 26. Is that right, Grandy?
Might be longer than that because he got 26? Extended.
Right. Well, no, I think that was that the extension? Through 26, through 27? It's only 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be through 27, 4 more years. But point being, he's going to be around through that contract and probably another one after it.
Kyle Shanahan, contract extension. Kyle Shanahan received multi-extensions. Lynch was previously signed through 24. Shanahan was inked through 25 pre-extension. So I don't think they announced the number of years, but you got to think it's at least 27.
Right.
At least 2 more.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with 4 more for Shanahan minimum, and probably it'll be more than that.
Yeah.
And, you look at everything about it, what players say, what his record has indicated, what he and John have done with the roster. I think that he gets to be here as long as he wants.
So say it with me. Super Bowl.
Or else.
Or try again.
Super Bowl or else.
Or else what?
You're getting ripped, Kyle.
You think he gives a rip about that?
I don't care if he cares or not.
Yeah, I mean.
I'm telling you what the fans
he's the head coach
think.
of an NFL team. Of course he's going to get ripped.
Super Bowl or else.
There is 0 chance that Kyle Shanahan does not get criticized on these airwaves over the next 3 weeks. 0. I don't care what the hell the final score is.
Even if they win the Super Bowl, he gets criticized.
Absolutely.
Because that's the way it goes.
I mean, what did we do? They blew the Packers off of the field the last time they were at Levi's for a playoff game, and half of you came in here and went, he didn't throw it.
He doesn't trust Jimmy G.
He doesn't trust Jimmy.
Turned out
by the way,
that's true.
Not even right. But is that a criticism?
Turned out to be genius.
Turns out it was genius. Which, by the way, I would argue is usually the case when you come at Kyle Shanahan. ... Turns out he was right. That dummy would not let Jimmy cook. That guy never let Trey Lance have a chance. Mm-hmm.
That guy can't win games in February. Oh, boy. There's that. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
how many has he played in February?
Well, there was the Atlanta debacle.
He wasn't the coach.
He was a coach.
Yes, he was.
He was a coach. Just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
It's Super Bowl or else, Mark, is what it is.
Super Bowl or try again.
That's too soft. Fans don't want that. But it's Super Bowl or else.
You don't have any choice.
Or else.
You don't have a choice. What do you mean fans don't want that? Fans don't have
that genteel perspective, that mature viewpoint that you have.
No, but I'm not trying to be mature and holier than thou.
I know.
I'm telling you what is.
No, I know, and they will try again.
Oh, yeah.
But if they win, it's Super Bowl and try again.
Fine. Yeah,
they're going to try again.
Absolutely.
Kyle and John and Brock.
Totally.
And all the fellas.
As they should. Like, they'll be the favorite again next year. They might be the favorite again next year even if they lose.
You could probably get some Jimmy Shapiro futures odds right now. Check your inbox.
Jimmy's been emailing me like crazy.
Yeah, the great Jimmy Shapiro.
Yeah, Jimmy's got...
Noted media connect.
Let's see.
He'll get you a guest at the Super Bowl Radio Row, but you gotta eat a couple guests to get the good guest.
Niners Ravens is 9-4.
Okay.
That specific matchup, 9-4.
Oh, right now.
You to bet on both of them to make it.
Okay.
9-4.
Which is that's basically 2.5 to 1. That's plus 225, Mark. If I can put a number on it for you.
That's exactly what it is.
Thank you.
Plus 225.
It's 2.25 to 1, not 2.5 to 1. That would be 2.5 to 1 would be 10 to 4. Yeah.
Does this make anyone feel good? If you want to go bet on the exact matchup in the Super Bowl, the top 3 answers on the board.
Number 3.
Thank you.
All
the
include
Niners,
the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
Most likely, Niners Ravens. Next most likely, Niners Bills. Next most likely, Niners Chiefs. You got to get all the way down to 10 to 1 plus 1,000 till you get to Lions Ravens.
Lions Ravens
as a matchup.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean,
by the way,
what do you have for Tampa Texans?
Yeah, Lions Ravens, then Lions Bills, then Lions Chiefs. Then we're circling back to the Niners again. Niners Texans.
Oh, geez.
Is more likely than any matchup that includes the Packers or the Bucks.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. The next one after that is the Packers and the Ravens.
Okay.
You got to go all the way down to 22 to 1 before you get to Bucks Ravens. Your boy Baker Mayfield's about to take an L.
What's the longest of the long on there? Texans, Bucks?
Yes.
And it's got to be 100 to 1.
It's 165 to 1.
Jeez.
And it's tied with Texans Packers.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the longest odds.
Well, that does make you feel it makes you feel good, but it also makes sense because if you look at the two conferences and if you want to rank the teams 1 through 8 and you give the Niners the 1, well, Baltimore's the 2 and Buffalo maybe the 3, Kansas City the 4, then Detroit is the 5, then the Packers would be the 6, and then you can go Texans 7, Bucks 8. And I did that loosely, but the point is the AFC has number 2, number 3, and number 4.
Correct.
And they might have number 1, depending on who you ask, because they did beat the 49ers out here.
But not Vegas.
I know.
Depends on who you ask.
But I was just saying
if you ask John Harbaugh, then yeah, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. If you ask Vegas, it's the 49ers.
Well, if you asked Chewy and Schmaltzy out there in ESPN Milwaukee, they probably would go Packers 1.
You're close.
It's Schnitzel, right?
Schnitzel.
It's
It's Neitzel.
It's Neitzel.
Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
Thank you.
Yeah. But by the way, when we played that stupid Chewy thing,
Thank you.
he referred to another guy and he didn't call him Gabe or Neitzel.
It's like the producer.
Yeah, he called him something else.
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Bobby or
You're no Neitzel, Grandy.
Yeah,
You get love.
Sammy or something. He goes something. I didn't know who he was talking about.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Moral of the story is the Niners the best team.
Well, and I think the point that I was attempting to bring home is that
Bring it home, Dibs.
makes sense that the Niners would be the favorite in most matchups because they have the easier road. You've got a Green Bay team that is a nice surprise, good story, but they're a 7 seed. And then you've got an unproven Detroit team that would have to go outside and come here. Baltimore, no matter what, if they win this game, and they have a tougher first round or divisional game than the Niners do, I would say. It's arguable.
Yeah.
It's arguable.
Yeah.
The spread would tell you they're close.
They're pretty, yeah. They're exact same spread right now. 9.5. 9.5.
But no matter what, if Baltimore wins, they've got a monster coming. They've either got the two-time Super Bowl champ and the best player in football, or the hottest team that is everyone's darling, and the team trying so hard to make it back there. So whatever game comes next is also going to be harder in the AFC.
In theory.
Yes.
In theory. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. Like when we talk about what we said off the top, that the Niners' chances to win the whole thing are similar to a great hitter coming to the plate and getting a hit, about 33%. That is largely based on the Super Bowl game of the 3 games. The odds for the Niners to make the Super Bowl are overwhelming, 1-2. So Vegas is telling you, like, depending on this is what's fascinating to me, the words that we want to use. The Niners should win the Super Bowl. Well, no, not by percentages. But, boy, they should make it. They should make it. The percentages are telling you that the 49ers should, and you can use the word probably, be in the Super Bowl. That's what Vegas is telling you.
Right. And that is where, getting back to your conversation that you started this with about what Steiny and Guru were discussing, where's the pressure? To me, it falls then squarely on Kyle Shanahan. If you make it to the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy has never been there. Shanahan has. And the knock on Brock is, he's just a second-year guy. He's Mr. Irrelevant. At that point, he would be 4-1 in the playoffs and really 4-0 if you discount the Philadelphia game that he didn't really get to play. So you could rightly say this guy is playoff built, he's playoff ready, but still, he's a second-year QB. And then you have Kyle Shanahan. Can he win the big one? So if we get to that point, yes, the should becomes less of a should because you're facing a very good team in the AFC and you won't be heavily favored. But then all eyes on Kyle Shanahan. It goes from should to can. Can Kyle win the big one?